How is all my brothers and sisters doing? This is Shaka Zulu, aka Jamorian Harris. This is a PowerPoint presentation that I decided to make called Segregation disguised as integration, the true purpose of passing legislation to resegregate blacks in America. And as you can see, I got 3 Ks in America. I decided to make this because it's like, it's hard to talk to black folks. It's hard to talk to family members and stuff like that. And without them thinking that you a know-it-all or you reading the wrong stuff and why everybody else don't know it. And that's because you have to be passionate and you have to love history and, you have to research. You got to do what it do. And so I made this PowerPoint presentation to show our brothers and sisters what happened to us before and after integration. But the main purpose of me showing this is the reason why the white folks, the powers that be, the elite, the government, had put integration together because they seen something during segregation. I'm gonna get to that. By the time I end this presentation, this PowerPoint presentation, all the brothers and sisters will understand, if not most, will know why we got put in this position. Now, mind y'all, before civil rights, 90% of us black people, black children, was born at home with 2 parents that was married. After the 1970s, because this legislation, the Civil Rights Act and the Welfare Reform Act and all this, the Immigration Act came all in the mid-60s, but it took its main effect in the 1970s, the beginning, to where now you have 75% of us black people that are born at home with 1 single parent. And you see it in the attitudes of our children today. And so this is my way of giving back. I'll give y'all my contact information at the end of this presentation. So just bear with me. I'm gonna go to the next slide. Now this right here. Now, I'm showing y'all the Carfax. Now, Abraham Lincoln supposedly had freed the slaves. And, everybody say he's on a brown penny with his back turned to the other presidents. And because he turned his back on them, so that's a politically correct belief, like that he freed the slaves. I had a few neighbors or a neighbor or so in the past year I ran into, they were like, what are you talking about? All white people ain't the same. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. And I told the sister, no, he didn't. And she supposedly had a college degree. But I'm going to let y'all walk with me to this day. Let y'all walk with me today. Now, this is a debate that took place with Abraham Lincoln and Senator Stephen Douglas before Abraham Lincoln won the presidency. And I get this from the Chicago Tribune archives. That's my sources. I'm going to read. During Lincoln's favorite debate with Senator Stephen Douglas, Lincoln explained to the crowd, I am not nor ever have been in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. I am not nor ever have been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say in addition to this, that there is a physical difference between white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the 2 races from living together on terms of social and political equality. And inasmuch as they cannot so live while they do remain together, there must be a position of superior and inferior. And as much as the other man am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. Lincoln was no different than most white males, North and South at the time. He was a white supremacist. Okay? We're going to learn today. Next slide. After slavery was abolished, supposedly, at least in the physical form, the 13th Amendment was passed. And it states, according to the U.S. Constitution, the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution ratified, which means took effect, in 1865, in the aftermath of the Civil War, abolished slavery in the United States. Okay? The 13th Amendment states, this is how you know slavery is still going on to this day. It never abolished it. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or the United Snakes or any places subject to their jurisdiction. You didn't see the word voluntary now, did you? It said neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Key word, except. That's the whole key to everything. Except. So it never left. It never stopped. Except for the physical aspect. Except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United Snakes or states, or any place subject to this jurisdiction, to their jurisdiction. And that's according to the U.S. Constitution. So slavery has never changed. Slavery has never been anywhere. We are confused on if slavery has left or not because it's not overt. It's not in your face as it used to be. It's more subtle. It's more sophisticated. It's more intricate. It's more complex to this day. That's why I say, how can racism happen to black people the most and we understand it the least? This has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with a belief system. This has something to do with common sense. Let me go to the next slide. Now, we have to learn how to research because a person like me, a lot of people look at, you think you know everything. You think because you read something, can't nobody tell you wrong. You don't like, see, stuff like that is only said by black people that does not read books. The saying amongst white people from back in the day, even to this day, if you want to keep a secret from a black person, put it in a book. The nigger would never read it. That's according to them. And I see why they say that. Even though there's a lot of black people that read, but if you want to keep a secret from a black person in terms of the masses, put it in a book. So I put my sources down on the side. This is my sources where I get my information from. You can go to the Latin Etymology Dictionary because English does not have its own vocabulary, its own alphabet. English uses a Latin alphabet, even though English is a Germanic language. So let's read what emancipate means. And in order for us to know what the true purpose of a word what it means, we have to go to the origins. We have to go to the root. And what we don't know is people like Noah Webster, the name Webster's Dictionary or Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, and William Shakespeare. Just like you had blacksmiths that create iron weapons or iron, you had wordsmiths, people that create words out of other words. And they create the definition of those words because they know the effect of words on people and the vibration of those words when spoken out your mouth, when manifested, when brought into existence. And they knew how powerful if they defined what the definition of a word meant, even if you found out what it meant at a latter stage. So let me explain. Emancipate. Emancipate, what I'm saying is it means transferred ownership. That's the root origin, and I'm going to show you. It does not mean set free. Only after the 1620s it means set free. And it's an ambiguous word that has two meanings. Be careful of doublespeak. Emancipate, which is a verb, which is an action. In the 1620s, it means set free from control, from Latin, emancipatus, past participle, emancipare. Put a son. Let me skip past this. Free, give up one's authority over. Okay, Roman law, the freeing of a son or wife from legal authority, whatever that means in Latin, of the part of family, to make his or her own way in the world, from assimilated, from X out, away, parentheses, CX. Let me skip past that. Mancipar, deliver, transfer, or sell, from mancipum, ownership, from mansus, hand, power, root. All these things, basically, instead of reading all that, it basically means transfer, sale, transfer ownership. So what had happened was the U.S. government had told the slave owners of the South they could not hold slaves anymore, but on a private individual level. What the government did, they nationalized slavery. They took the ownership of the so-called slaves from the owners of the plantation, and they nationalized it to a government ownership. And they paid those slaveholders. Because you got to understand, people, ending slavery, and when Abraham wanted to end it, it had nothing to do with morally being wrong with setting black folks free. You have to understand, slavery was ended in 1807, and up north, it was ended in 1807. You know, in New Amsterdam, which is called New York to this day. It was ended in 1807, the importations of slaves, because the crackers realized that they already have a lot of babies. They are going to outnumber us after a while if we keep importing them on top of us, on top of them having children as it is. So that's what started the breeding farms after 1807, when the importation of slavery was prohibited, was outlawed. And so the North, they outlawed it in 1807. The South outlawed it in 1865. But the question is, how can Abraham Lincoln free slaves in states that he did not have control over? Because you have to understand, the South seceded from the Union. They didn't want to partake with what the North said, because in my way of explaining it, the North said, look, you're messing our money up. We got ghost markets up here. We're not making any money compared to y'all got people doing stuff for free. We don't have anybody doing anything for me. And so slavery is, we already started a capitalism with slavery, but y'all killing it. Y'all killing it with still having slaves in the South. When we can't compete with those markets with the cotton and everything in the South, and while we're in the North. So y'all need to stop. So the South basically, in my way of explaining it, said, man, look, we don't know nothing about you, man. Y'all go back and do y'all business, handle y'all business. We're going to focus on what we do. And the North basically, in my way of explaining it, was like, look, man, I'm basically telling you to get down to lay down. And the South basically telling them, in my way of explaining it, well, y'all need to get down to lay down, because we ain't stopping nothing. And so Abraham Lincoln, he knew strategically. And these white folks, they work strategically against us to this day. He knew strategically, if I somehow in some way convinced the slaves of the South, because the South seceded from the Union, they broke away from the other colonies in the North. And so Abraham Lincoln knew if he convinced the people of the South, if we would free you, that would spark a light bulb to go off in the African's head. Like, now we have something to fight for. But once again, how can Abraham Lincoln free people in states that he did not have control over? This is strategic, people. That's why I say